Okay, so the Joker.
This is Joker. It's an origin story, an alternate take on his history.
This is an alternate take. This I wouldn't necessarily call this to be in the DC universe, although it is.
It is, and it's based on elements from different because there's many different comic books that have told his story very different ways.
Yeah,
exactly.
Indeed.
So this is kind of a fragmented look, but it's an original take.
It is.
On a origin story of this particular interpretation of the Joker.
Absolutely.
Played, I gotta say, brilliantly by Joaquin Phoenix.
Mr. Joaquin
say
really,
off the bat.
Rumor has it right now that he's certainly in line to be getting his Oscar, not only a nom, but probably the Oscar indeed.
I think, as of right now, he is the performance to beat.
Yeah,
we haven't seen all the other things.
I know.
We had Mr. Rogers coming out with Tom Hanks.
Says, Mr. Rogers.
Those are the two neck and necks.
Those are probably going to be the neck and necks, although we don't know what else.
Well, yeah, there's also some other ones coming out that we've forgotten.
There's always other ones coming out.
Yeah.
But this is basically a film about a guy's pirouette, not pirouette, but his entry into madness, so to speak, although it seems to me he's been mad pretty much right from the beginning of the film.
It's a guy who has obviously some mental issues that have begun to deteriorate.
Absolutely.
And start to become somewhat acute once he decides to stop taking his medication.
Uh-huh.
And then it seems like he's able to kind of come out of a fog and be this kind of a free spirit, because he seems to be, although he's a little more crazy by the time the movie ends, he seems to be more free and happier. He's not plagued by the mental trauma that I guess was under this fog of medication, which seems to happen a lot with a lot of the medications that people are on for various illnesses.
Yes.
He's a very depressing kind of a guy.
You know, this film, I think as a, and it does employ some of the DC characteristics. We do have Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, and his wife, and we do have the iconic seeing his parents be murdered, and I always look for those pearls falling when she falls.
We see Alfred played by a different actor in this film
once
briefly.
Again, we do, and
we see Gotham and basically probably the dankest, most depressing we've ever seen it before.
Yeah, it looks more like a Philadelphia almost.
Yeah, well, they filmed it all over New Jersey. They filmed it in Newark, Jersey City, a lot of the shitholes.
Okay.
They filmed it in some areas in Queens and Brooklyn.
Okay.
And, it's very rainy. During the film, the backdrop is that there's a big garbage strike going on, so garbage is piling up all over the city.
Right.
So it's not a very pleasant patina for the city that we see in this film.
Okay, patina meaning canvas of...
The canvas of what Gotham is,
precisely.
Yeah. She was very good, Zazie Beetz.
Right.
She's his neighbor, who he has an affection for.
He does indeed.
In the film, he takes care of his mother, who's got some kind of an illness that we don't really know what it is. She's older, played by the wonderful Frances Conroy.
Yeah,
who
been around for years and years.
Most notably in 6 Feet Under, she was the matriarch in that show.
Correctamundo. That is true, she was.
But the film hinges on him and his performance.
Okay. Well, did you like the film as a film?
I loved this film.
Did you?
I have not been able to get this movie out of my head. I have not been able to get his performance out of my head.
Yeah.
It has almost haunted me in a way. I thought it was wonderful. I can't wait to see it again. I actually was trying to strategize a way to see it again before tonight. I just didn't have the time. But I thought that he was absolutely spectacular.
He was spectacular.
I thought that the film had some slow points, but I was completely engaged. And once he comes out full-fledged, the Joker, for let's say the last half hour, it just was on overdrive for me. And he commanded every moment of those scenes. The scene that he's on, the talk show. The scene that he's dancing free all over the city to the soundtrack of Gary Glitter's da 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 da, hey da 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 da. The song that they play in every sporting event. It was just like the arrival of this being into Gotham City. And I just loved it. I thought Todd Phillips did an amazing job directing this film, coming from a comedic background, doing all the Hangovers. But he, like we said at dinner, got a little serious, and he did War Dogs with Jonah Hill a couple of years ago and Miles Teller. He did a couple other movies. He did Road Trip. He did Old School. He did this movie called. It was like a real an R-rated college movie. I forget what it was called. It doesn't matter. But regardless, I think he's matured as a filmmaker.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
I agree.
And I think this is just.
I think it's probably one of his better films.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And he co-wrote the film
no
too.
Question. Did he? Okay.
And I loved it, and I really can't wait to see it again.
All right, interesting.
I can't recommend it highly enough.
You know what? I don't know if I really want to see it again. For me, this was if you take out the Gotham aspect, if you take out the whole DC element of this film, and you just leave it alone. You can even leave him with the makeup. He can be a clown, whatever. This really was a dissolvement, if you will. This really was a leap into the abyss of mental illness.
I agree 100%.
That's what this film is truly about. You know, there's no sugarcoating it with the DC happy, fun kind of movie to watch.
Yes.
This is not a DC world kind of film. If you're thinking of taking your kids to this movie because you think Batman's going to show up, he ain't. And it's not a movie for kids by any means. I think this really is I think this is a very difficult film to watch. For me, it was a difficult film to watch. I mean, everybody in their life has somebody who, to some extent, or you know somebody in your world who has gone into a mental illness that may not always be present all the time. But in this film, you know, his mental illness to me was very difficult to watch.
I know, I agree 100%. It was definitely hard to watch. Yeah.
It was too much. It was, you know, this is not a kids movie by any means. It's really just a hard-grained look at a guy who's just losing his mind, and I can almost understand why, you know, there was a whole cautionary feeling to release this film, specifically in a country right now that we are, you know, divided by a violence and a non-violence.
Yes.
And, you know, this could easily spur on the violent aspect of our white supremacists, or just people who are out there deciding to go into a school one day and.
But at the same token, not to interrupt you, but at the same time, the whole fervor that has been out the past couple weeks since this movie was coming out.
Yeah.
It was all media driven. It was all media driven to get ratings, to scare people, to put the idea in the head of a potential shooter that might not have otherwise been thinking about doing it. They were making more out of this movie, out of the violence, than they really needed to.
Yeah, but I can't say that wasn't necessarily a media thing.
It is a media thing.
Well, then you're saying that all people are media.
No, but I'm saying
because there are people that have
media
seen
reports about this movie. It's so violent, but it's not. There's a couple violent scenes. John Wick kills more people than the Joker does in this movie.
Well, obviously,
it's more. You know.
Yeah, but this is far more. John Wick is obviously a fantasy film. That's
John Wick. The Joker's a fantasy character. The mental illness looks real. It's portrayed really, but he's still a fantastical character. He's a comic book character.
No. The comic book element of this film was lost. It was not. It was not really prescribed. Oh, there was no comic book element in this. What comic book element?
The fact that he's the Joker. That's a comic book character.
He's a comic book character. But the film itself was not a comic book film.
Well, if you're saying it doesn't have the Marvel lights and brightness to it, that's true.
Well, of course it doesn't have
Marvel,
the comedy.
It's
a DC film,
but
not
I'm
a
saying
Marvel.
DC doesn't have that in their movies. I'm saying this movie still is a comic book movie. There's still elements to it.
Only in name only. In name only.
I disagree. The character is very over the
minimal.
top. The character is very, very theatrical. It's very comic-y. Very
but that's the nature of his clown performer that he is. The mentally unstable character that this guy is. I didn't find this to be a good Joker representative. I mean, you know, as far as a Jared Leto or, Jack Nicholson, there's always he's not a funny, the Joker's always funny. He's a funny guy. He's not Joker.
Yeah, but he's not.
There ain't no Joker going on.
There wasn't much with Heath Ledger either.
He doesn't have.
This is probably the most down-to-earth, realistic version of a Joker that we've seen.
This is far beyond realistic. This is true dementia in a very obvious and driven way, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
No, I agree.
Just for a study in mental illness.
I agree.
Just for a study in it. It's very fascinating.
And I applaud Warner Brothers for taking a chance on a project like this.
Well, you know,
I think another element of the film, before I forget my thought, that's important, another thread, a theme, bless you.
Thank you.
A theme that runs throughout the movie, a story thread, is this is a guy, bless you, who represents a faction of society that has been discarded and overlooked. The social services situation
Mental illness.
has failed him,
Mental
and
illness.
everybody like him.
Yeah.
There's loopholes and all this red tape for people that have mental illness who need to get this kind of services.
Very true.
There's that in this film. It's a commentary on that, which I think is important, especially in urban environments where these people seem to be just swallowed up by the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
It's all about the meds and not taking them, and,
it is,
and what can happen.
Or having access to them.
I've certainly known people that have not taken their meds and
I
killed
have
themselves.
I've never seen that, but
I have.
I've seen a lot of people.
Guy across the street from me stopped taking his meds and ended up dying. He ended up.
It's very tragic.
I mean, it does happen, but this film was a little too gritty. It was a little too realistic. I didn't find that the DC universe even theme at all as much as you want to say that it's there. For me, it wasn't. It was barely there. This really is a study of and that's not a bad thing. I wish they had just put out this film as just a Joaquin Phoenix being a psychotic guy. I don't even think the Joker character was even necessary. He could still, the film could still be pretty much the same film. I mean, let's face it, the Joker falls into a vat of acid, his face is permanently, we didn't have any...
Yeah, but that wasn't even based on, that was what Tim Burton came down with. That's not based on canon. When he falls in the vat of acid, his face, that's again, just an interpretation.
Jared Leto, he falls in also. I mean, that's pretty much, I do believe that is part of the
that's
Joker.
100%. It might
that's
be
part of the Joker.
I don't know if it's the 100% definitive history.
No, absolutely. It's part of the Joker.
Burton took a lot of liberties with that movie.
No, I think that's it. Because they also use that in the Suicide Club film.
I don't remember that at all in that movie.
Oh, sure. Jared Leto falls in.
Yeah.
He goes in.
Oh, that's right. He falls in. She goes in after him.
There you go. But
there's stuff that breaks canon in the original Batman film.
What are you saying, canon?
Canon meaning the original doctrine of what the characters are. The canon within the universe of the Batman mythology. A lot of
I'm not familiar with the canon.
You never heard of the term canon before? Where have you been?
Not. Well, I haven't.
Canon, not double N, C-A-N-O-N, not C-A-N-O-N.
Okay.
Canon meaning...
I understand what you're meaning
by official.
It now. I got
the point is, for example, the original Batman, he lets the Joker die, he kills him. Batman has always been of the mindset he's not going to kill anybody.
All right, we're getting off the track here.
No, but I'm just saying that there's inaccuracies in the original take.
Okay. Understood. For me, that there wasn't even there. There was no element of the original Joker feeling at all. I didn't feel like I was watching a DC movie at all, except mention of Thomas Wayne, his wife. There's little Bruce, kind of there planted.
Well, it's like
it wasn't even
it's
a Joker
dark adult's take on a story that originated in a DC comic book.
I understand. I'm just telling you my personal feeling for the film. I really feel that this had nothing to do with the Joker in a way. It was just about a guy, namely Joaquin, who just goes literally, who's berserk from the moment we see him on screen. He's just nuts all the way, and I think it's a great exercise in his acting skills. I mean, for me, I don't know. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix has always been, he's always been a little bit hard to read.
He's kind of an oddball, You don't know how to read him. You're right.
He's hard to read to begin with. He's an interesting guy because he is so. I mean, I know he was devastated by his brother River's death.
Of course,
he really looked up to River Phoenix, and of course his sister is what the heck is her name? She's also a Phoenix.
Yeah, well, no,
she was in Stand By Me, wasn't she? No, maybe not.
But she was. For a while, she was dating Casey Affleck.
No.
Right?
She was in the film with. Oh man. I
forget her first name.
I can see the guy's
Phoenix?
face.
No, it's a odd name.
Now, who's the guy that was in Taxi?
You mean the
black-haired guy? He was in Taxi.
Taxi the TV show or Taxi the movie?
TV show.
Well, the original was.
Judd Hirsch.
Judd Hirsch. Correct.
Okay, she was in a film with Judd Hirsch. And it was called Running on Empty.
Oh, yes. That's it. Well, that's also a film with River Phoenix.
Correct. Well, River's in it and his sister's in it also.
Yeah.
They're both in that film.
Yeah, well, she's been in some
But anyway, the only reason I mention her is because Joaquin said he was very much, he was in contact with her throughout the entire filming of this.
Of course he was, yeah.
He was very much, but, I'm just saying, and I'm taking a long time to say it, and I don't mean to go so far, but for me, this film was a bit of a disappointment. I have to say, I wanted more Jokerisms. I wanted more something true to the actual character of the Joker. I feel in this film I didn't get that. What I got was okay, but under the moniker of the term, the word, the comic book, the DC essence of what Joker is, I got none of that in this film.
See, I don't think that's a. I think that. Do you want to keep seeing the same character rehashed every time?
Well, if we're gonna see
this
a character,
was something totally different.
I understand that.
I remember Jared Leto having one joke in Suicide Squad.
Well, he always jokes. I mean, they all joke. There's a quickness of mind. This guy is a joker who is almost. I hate to use the R word, but let's say mentally challenged. He's a mentally challenged individual. He can barely get through his life on a daily basis. There was no essence of what the character of the Joker actually is. Go back to Cesar Romero. He's like the Riddler, but he's just not cracking riddles all the time. He's cracking jokes. There's a whole world there of the Joker that is completely void in this film.
See, that's what I liked about it a lot. I liked it was a complete departure from what we've seen before.
But it's not even a Joker movie to me. There wasn't any essence of the DC universe in this film.
There was, because the Joker is not just a jokester. He's an anarchist. He's a violent person. He's hateful. He's crazy. That was all on display.
This was a raw.
So he didn't tell jokes.
This was a raw look at mental illness.
It was.
That's basically.
But it's also a look at, how that can lead to something like a supervillain. That's what this was, the evolution of a supervillain. And if we get another one with this another movie with this character, you're going to see that in display more so. Then I think maybe then
you're just
you'll see more of the
denying
Joker.
what I'm saying.
I'm not denying you.
Well,
at
you
all.
are. You're trying to make an excuse for it.
No, but you're saying you don't see any element of the Joker. I just gave you 4 out of 5 elements.
No,
you're
you
just
didn't.
saying you're not seeing the jokes. But the Joker was not just a jokester.
The character himself is completely missing.
He's still an anarchist.
He's
film. Still violent. He still has a posse of people that believe in him.
I'm talking
He's still
about
crazy.
his character. I'm talking about the man who makes him. Like
But that's all elements of the character.
If I took you and put you in another body, and and the body left over didn't have Chris in it anymore, but it still looked like Chris. That's basically what we had here. The character of the Joker, and that's all I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that the character of the Joker, the Batman character of the Joker, Jack Nicholson, Cesar Romero, Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, that character is all based around the same very intelligent, very psychotic. There's a definite element there that is present. In this film, I saw nothing.
You didn't get any psychotic out of this?
Psychotic, yes, but
that's part of who the Joker is.
In a different world.
Yeah, but it's still part of the character.
You're not hearing me.
I'm hearing you. You're not paying attention.
I'm paying total attention.
The character of the Joker has 5 traits. He's psychotic. He's an anarchist. He cracks jokes. He's funny. He's smart. He's this and that. Okay, so maybe he's not funny. Maybe he doesn't have jokes.
Not smart.
All the other things are present.
Not smart.
You don't know that.
No.
I didn't think his character was stupid.
He's a moron.
I don't think he's a moron at all. I disagree. He's able to pull off some things in this film.
He's almost brain damaged.
I don't think so.
That's how I felt.
I don't think he's
watching this film.
I didn't get that at all.
So you're arguing with me over my opinion, which
no,
I don't understand.
But you have a mentality of your opinion is the end and the end all be all.
It's not all. I'm just giving you my fucking opinion.
I know, but then you're also discounting my opinion by saying that I'm wrong.
I'm not discounting your opinion at all.
Yeah, you are.
You're totally entitled to it. No. How am I doing that?
Yeah, by the way,
No, I'm not.
By not agreeing that there's elements of the Joker present when there are.
No, there wasn't.
There's 5 characteristic traits. You're ignoring all of them.
As I say, if this film was just called Joaquin, or let's say it was called Joey. It was called Joey. It's now called Joey. This whole thing, the end, this whole character that's on display with, we have the King of Comedy whole thing going on with Robert De Niro.
Just reversed.
We have a definite world of we have King of Comedy meets Taxi Driver. There's no question about it. This is a Marty Scorsese almost tribute to some extent.
Well, that's what they said was one of the inspirations.
Absolutely.
Scorsese was a producer.
That's fine. Okay, I'm just saying, take the word Joker out of it, and you have a great movie. You have a great movie. I'm just not seeing Batman's Joker in this. That's all.
All right.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Did I like the film? I liked it very much. It was hard to watch because it's so repulsive. It's so uncomfortable to watch. In your life, you know people like this. I know people like this. I mean, here he is. I mean, he's crying all the time. He's a mess. He's a nightmare. But I like the film. As a movie and a study in mental illness, I thought it was great. as a DC universe film, it failed.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be
100%.
part of the DC universe per se. It's not supposed to fit in.
That's what you're saying. You just told me that that 5 parts of the Joker are present in him.
I'm saying there's
No.
elements of it, but no, you're missing my point. It can still have elements of the Joker in it, which I think it does, but it doesn't fit into the surrounding DC universe, meaning
Exactly.
the Batman films we've seen. This is not meant to tie into
That's all I'm
the
saying.
Dark Knight trilogy.
Right.
It's not meant to tie in the Suicide Squad.
All
this is a
and all I'm saying-
standalone story.
I agree.
And that's what it is.
And all I'm saying to you is
but it
that
still has elements.
I
to
think
it.
I would have preferred it without the Batman Joker reference at all.
But
Let's just
it never
watch
would have been
Joaquin
made
Phoenix.
otherwise.
Sure it would have.
No, it
Oh,
wouldn't.
you're out of your mind.
I don't think
How
so.
does Joaquin Phoenix, or how does anybody who's doing a Sam I Am or whatever, any actor, any great actor who is now a prevalent actor in our world of acting, could get any pretty much movie made if there's a great script there, and there's a great script here. There's no question about it.
Yeah, but I don't know if Warner Brothers would have taken as much of a risk on it the
As
way
a
they
Batman
did.
film, it wouldn't have been a Batman film, though, Chris.
That's what I'm
all
saying. It wouldn't have been. It wouldn't.
Yeah,
I don't
they
think.
still would have made the film.
I don't know.
Maybe a different studio would have made it. That's all. Maybe it would have been a studio made by. Maybe Universal would have just done the Joey story about a guy who's kind of psychotic, goes on a TV show.
Yeah, but you know what? Though we've seen
gets
that
very
before.
violent.
Otherwise, that would have
No.
been something we've seen
Hell,
before.
come on! Every movie that's out there we've seen before. In some, this is a totally new take.
But I don't know if people want to see a movie this stark about mental illness if it doesn't have something they can relate to, like the Joker or whatever famous character you want to throw in there. I tend to think that.
I think that maybe was a desperate clause to throw in the Joker thing.
No, this was meant to be a Joker fit from the
I
start.
know it was. All I'm saying to you is that to me, that there was not one moment that I felt I was watching a Joker
Well, maybe you'll
film.
change your mind when you watch it on video at home.
No. I like the film. It's a hard film to watch. It's a great performance by Joaquin. I mean, he does a lot of dancing in this film, for example. He's almost a ballet.
He lost 54 pounds to do this
Obviously.
movie.
Oh, there's the
He's
scene where he
emaciated.
takes his shirt off where,
It's like
and he's like,
The Machinist almost,
he's sitting there he
With
was sitting on
Christian
the
Bale.
couch, and you
I
just
know.
see his
well,
back.
rib cage. You see his rib cage.
I know, it's all rich cage.
It's awful.
I just felt like this really, I was just watching something totally unbeknownst to the moniker that it had been placed under. It was like they put it under a folder, and they said, okay, we're going to make this a Joker movie, but for me, there was no Joker in it. The
Okay.
Joker wasn't even there.
Agree to disagree.
Great performance by Joaquin, but it wasn't really a Joker movie. It was just a great movie about a great. It wasn't about a great act. It's about a guy who is just falling into an abyss. He's falling into that abyss, and he can't climb out. He gets violent. He gets people around him. He begins to annihilate, and I just thought it was. It was very interesting. It's a hard film to watch. That's
Yeah,
all
I mean,
can
it's
say.
not for everybody.
No.
I wouldn't say that it's a movie for every demographic to see. There's people that.
And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go in to see it expecting, and was I expecting a Joker film? I really wasn't. I don't know why, but when the whole mention of this film first came into our beings, be it on, I think Facebook was the first time I may have seen it.
I read about this 2 years ago.
about it. Yeah. I mean, I've known about it for at least a year anyway. But and I knew Joaquin was going to be doing it, and it was all going to be an interesting take. But boy, it was not what I expected, and that's okay. Just don't put it under that don't put it in that file for me. I would have much preferred it as just what it was. A foray, a dive into a mental illness world that is unescapable, and there's no. In the Batman world of the Joker, there's a guiding intelligence that guides his psychoticness. And that's, look at Heath Ledger. We just watched a little bit before we put this on. He's psychotic, but he has a goal in mind. there's no goal here for Joaquin's character.
Yeah, he has a goal.
Well, no,
he wants
really
to get on a
doesn't.
talk show. That's his goal. It's a finite goal.
Yeah, but
it's a small goal, but that's what he wants to do.
It's not even a goal. It's just
he wants to be a stand-up comic and blah blah blah.
But he wants to do it basically because his mother watches the show every day. But that's not a goal. The Joker has plans.
You're talking about a plan, yeah.
I'm talking plans.
Well, we don't know what
this
character might have had in mind.
No, we know what this character has in mind. Nothing. He's mentally ill. He is mentally deranged. I
agree. But I don't think he's this stupid mongoloid like you make him seem like.
I think he's fairly.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. Yeah, I do. I don't think he's a mongoloid.
No, but I mean, in terms of you're thinking he's a simpleton. There's not much going on in his brain. I disagree. Yeah. I think he's severely fucked up, but I don't think he's an idiot. I don't think he's a guy who's going to just be relegated to pushing a shopping cart his whole life.
I don't know.
To use an example.
I just saw him as just totally without any, totally void of the Joker, of the Batman Joker that the world is going to be lured into this film to see. They're not going to see that guy. They're not going to see that Joker. They're not going to see that world. They're going to see this world.
Well, I think they're just going to see a different take, a different interpretation.
And I still haven't gotten to reviewing that part of it yet, because as a journey into mental illness, it's a great film. It's a really
100% agree with
film.
you.
I mean,
I couldn't agree more.
It really just goes into.
I think it's an important film. Given that
it's almost a textbook kind of film. The people that he turns to, the people that he imagines in his life.
Yeah.
There's just so many elements that are just so vital and so frightening and so sad. And
I agree.
And that's really where this film is at for me.
I saw some people, some of the critics were criticizing that, it's a bad film and it doesn't give us anything new about mental illness and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know what they're looking for. I thought it was a pretty honest glimpse of, I don't know if we've seen mental illness to this extent.
No, I don't think so.
In terms of the detail and the showing this despair, this deterioration, as you touched on, of a person's psyche. I thought it was brilliantly done, and I thought it was believable and plausible. And
I agree.
And given our society, like you said at the top of the review, it's very prevalent, relevant to our society.
Right.
It's something that is prevalent within masses of people in this country, globally.
Absolutely.
We have a mental health crisis going on that I think is too often being either ignored or just over-medicated, which sometimes has a reverse backfire effect.
True.
A lot of the shooters that have gone on sprees, not to go on a tangent, but a lot of them have been found to be heavily medicated people.
Yeah, correct.
They were almost all of them were heavily medicated.
I know.
We don't know what these drugs are doing to the brain chemistry.
Well, we don't know what McDonald's fries are doing to the mass population.
No,
either.
we do. It's killing them and giving them diabetes.
Well, every little thing out there.
And cancer.
Everything on our planet is almost programmed to murder us.
I know.
It's almost, our cars are programmed to fall apart after 10 years, or, our televisions die.
Nothing is manufactured to last.
Nothing is.
It's manufactured so you have to keep buying it.
Exactly.
Hence, new TV every 3 years.
Exactly. Rinse, repeat,
exactly.
rinse, repeat.
But
keep using up that shampoo, so you gotta go buy a new one.
We're going off topic here, but,
We are indeed. Well, no, we're not. We're staying within the topic, and the topic is basically, the world of this film that was created. I don't know if I'd want the whole population of our planet to watch this film. Of course they say, what's the first thing they say? Video games. That's what's planting the seeds into people.
It's all bullshit. You can't blame everything people are putting in.
No, you can't.
Because this is interesting. It touches on a point that, as I mentioned to you over dinner, I listened to a podcast interview from a couple of years ago with Paul Verhoeven, who did obviously RoboCop and Total Recall, Basic Instinct, two of those films, great films. Two of them, some of the most violent films of the late 80s and 90s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers. And he had gotten a lot of flack.
Showgirls.
He got a lot of flack for violence when RoboCop came out. He had to edit it for the MPAA.
Yeah, but RoboCop was a cartoon violence.
Yeah, but it was so violent, he had to have the MPAA would not allow him to release the film until he had 7 different versions.
Yeah.
He had to re-edit it 7 times.
Not surprised.
There was a conversation when that film came out, which we've also heard with video games, when Natural Born Killers came out, that, oh my God, it's going to cause people to kill people.
I know, it's a bullshit thing.
It's a bullshit.
Essence, but
because you're not... You and I have seen violent films. Everybody I know has seen violent films. Everybody I know is not going out there committing violence.
no, true.
You might be...
No, I agree.
Yeah, you might have anger in
Absolutely
you.
true.
Maybe you do.
The thing that
you don't
bothers-
go out there and you kill people.
The thing that worries me a little bit, though, is because it's a Joker movie, because it is a DC Universe film, and you do have people that want to emulate, from time to time. I mean, I know that they said one of the big announcements they made prior to this film actually hitting theaters was that we don't want any people dressing up in masks and so forth.
And they've been cracking down on that for a while.
I remember, too, back in my day, there was a film called Warriors, The Warriors.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing.
That was Walter Hill.
It was a Walter Hill
Early
film.
80s.
Right. And it was about a bunch of gangs.
Yeah, 2
There were the
violent gangs.
Jokers who were there. They had these guys in like white face that were out there with baseball bats. You had the main guys that was the guy who did the Warriors come out.
Well, that was from Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I know.
David Patrick Kelly.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and of course that film did spike some gangs beating up other gangs in parking lots outside the theater after and before the films. I mean, it actually did.
Well, you know what, though? They're beating up each other. Good. Take care of yourselves.
Well, I know.
Just don't hurt innocent people.
No, I know what you're saying. But, it's because of the psychotic essence of
I know.
audiences.
I know.
That you got to worry a little bit. And I think it took some balls to release this film.
100%, like I said
really
before.
do mean that.
It takes a lot.
I think Warner
courage.
it took some courage to put
Because
this
you
out.
know why? Because we're in a society where a lot of what's being produced by Hollywood is very sanitized. Almost every movie is
Absolutely.
what? PG-13. You're not getting a lot of R-rated films.
Well, that's just to appeal to a wider audience.
Well, that's just to get money. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's nice to sometimes see one of those movies that come out like this that is surprising.
Yeah.
It's shocking. It's controversial. It's provocative.
It's over the top.
It's rated R. It's all
really
those things.
cuts into.
And we need that sometimes.
It really cuts into people as they are.
I agree.
And it really puts things into perspective as to what should be put out.
Yes.
I mean, there's people that are sitting on their little thrones going, well, gee, should this movie be put out? There and yes, then of course the dollar bottom comes into play, and I think obviously we have a great actor, Joaquin Phoenix here, who's really
in this movie.
a wonderful performance.
Will again prove the value and the marketability of an R-rated film because it broke all records.
I know, 93 million.
93 million, almost $94 million.
Yeah, and it was
for
I think it's
3.5
190
days.
Worldwide right now.
Yeah, and it was only I think a $50 million budget. It was a modest budget.
Yeah.
So
No, it's a very interesting film. It's
it's going to be setting a precedent in some ways. For at the very least, it's going to I think it's going to show that.
I don't know if you can really go beyond. I don't know what else you could set a precedence for. Though.
Well, you let me finish. Setting a precedent for the continued marketability of R-rated films geared towards adults. Everything can't be a glossy PG-13 kid-oriented film. Or even a film like an Avengers film, which is still PG-13.
No, I understand.
We need R-rated films.
We
need films with real content.
I agree.
And it's important whether it's about this or it's a dark family drama about whatever. We need those kind of movies. Manchester by the Sea, R-rated, a drama, depressing, but we need those movies once in a while. It's nice to discuss adult themes. And not everything needs to be.
Well, I don't think that every adult
lighthearted.
theme has to be R-rated, though.
I agree.
I mean,
but sometimes
when you
it
look at
lends
that-
itself to R.
And also, when you go into the cusp of what an R-rated film is, the only reason this got an R had nothing to do with the adult content.
No,
of
it was the
mental
violence.
illness.
It was the violence.
It was the violence.
The
Or
two
the,
scenes that had some violence.
Exactly.
Really, only one scene that had brutal violence.
So
That's it. Really, it's that one scene in the apartment.
Precisely. So you've got to really question the R-rated, the whole moniker of R rating.
I know.
I mean, is it really? Do we really need R-rated films? I don't know if we really do.
Now, some movies just get it for language. Some get it, like you said, for violence.
So, you've got to go to the
nudity.
board of the rating system people to really because I think a film like this, regardless of the violence. This film was intense. It was a very intense thing. I would not want Kids under the age of, I don't know, I wouldn't want little 10, 12-year-old people to watch this
Honestly,
film.
I don't think anybody...
And without the violence. Forget the violence. I'm just
No,
talking
I know.
about Joaquin as a psychotic nutbag.
Part of the thing, I think anybody who sees this film should be post-puberty.
We certainly hope so.
Because your brain doesn't fully form 100% until after that. You know, you're still impressionable. It's still forming. I think you need to be a little bit more mature in the brain, physiologically, biology.
And it's not like these films come out all the time.
No.
You know, this is a once in a blue moon
generation.
We
maybe.
get a Joaquin, exactly.
Once in a decade.
Yeah, we get a Joaquin
film.
Phoenix kind of film.
It's
like
going to be the landmark now film that he's known for.
Absolutely,
It's interesting because he's given so many great performances.
Previous was
Walk the Line was his big landmark. Now it's this.
I don't think he was that great. I don't think he really seemed like Johnny Cash to me.
Well, I thought it was good.
I thought it was a good performance.
I agree that I didn't think it was super Johnny Cash, but I thought he was good.
Yeah,
great singing. And
Reese was great in that film. She played.
She was wonderful.
Cash,
Oscar deserved.
An Oscar. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, anytime there's been a lot of discussion of Joaquin before this film, generally, Walk the Line was the film that was mentioned the most.
I agree.
Now it's going to be this. Yeah. This is the career definer now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And everything he does after this, and I think he did some interesting work last year when we saw him in that movie, You Were Never Really Here.
I like that film.
Me too. Yeah. That was a dark, violent film.
It was.
He played a hitman.
He played a hitman, but
beat people with hammers.
Absolutely.
But then he became like a taxi driver vigilante in that film.
Correct.
Trying to save a girl that was kidnapped. But,
right.
Anyway, regardless, this film definitely has struck a chord. It's definitely resonating with people. $93 million. I'm interested to see how far it goes in terms of not only money, but I'm very interested to see how it performs in the award season.
I walked out of the theater and I just, I was a bit sad, I have to say. I knew I had seen a great piece of work. Yeah. There's no question about it. But I was sad because the element and the real massive amount of illness that we see on display in this film is just so it was sad to me.
No, it is. There's an element of that to this. That's one of the things that stayed with me as well. And both of our lives have been touched by.
Certainly. My brother, in fact.
Well, my uncle.
I know.
We both have a mentally challenged relative.
Mentally challenged people.
And that's
person in our lives. There's no question about it.
And it's tough to
not
watch.
To this extent.
Not to this.
Thank God they're not.
No, he's very docile.
Violent. Yeah.
But there are outbursts that can be shocking sometimes, and so it's definitely a movie for.
It is funny that the last film, maybe not the last film, but one of the great films about mental illness was Taxi Driver. Yeah, and here's Robert De Niro in this film opposite Joaquin. I didn't really, it didn't really resonate with me that I knew De Niro was going to be in this movie. Yeah. But then when he showed up and he's a main character almost. Yeah. He's really
a part.
He plays this talk show host, this
prominent
Maury.
His name is Murray Franklin.
Murray Franklin, which is based on Joe Franklin or kind of an old time talk show host we used to have.
He's a guy who's in the film, probably been on TV for 20 years.
Right. Well, more than that, probably.
Yeah.
But, he's been, Mom loves him, and, he's an icon
he's been a
amongst
TV
the older set. Yeah, right. And so... I
thought he was good in this.
I thought he was fine.
He did a good job.
No, I thought he was fine.
I like seeing Mark Maron as his producer. Shows up in that one scene.
That was so weird. At the end.
Yeah.
Mark pops in there, but
maybe we should move on. It's been probably a half hour.
It's a tough film to watch. It's a tough film.
It is.
It's a tough film
but I still recommend it very highly.
Okay, for me, I don't know.
And I would say I think it's a film that is worth seeing in the theater.
I will see it again.
It's a theater film. I'm going to buy this movie.
Oh, I will.
I really
will
love
watch
this
it
movie.
Again. I will watch it.
I might go see it again with my father.
But I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to watch it after that. I'll watch it one more time. But
watch it with your friend on Friday nights.
I may. Yeah. But then again, maybe not. I don't know, but I'll definitely watch it.
I think it might grow on you because a lot of times I've noticed when we do a movie review of a film that you just saw in the theater that you're not crazy about, 3 months, 4 months later, you'll tell me, you know what, I rewatched it and I like it better.
Well, no, that's very true. That's very true. But
it's that second look.
The second look very often, will change an average film into a better than average film. But see, this film touches on human emotion, and it touches on human parts of me, personally, obviously. I'm a human being. I see this film,
of course,
and I'm saddened by it. I'm saddened by the fact that somebody has no control over themselves and just responds within the moment to do something violent or non-violent. He just can't really make a decision for himself. He's so completely without that bit of choice within him. It just comes as a desperate move. And for that reason alone, I don't know if I really want to see this film again, because it's too personal for me. It's too personal.
I understand that. I mean,
I'm not talking about myself.
No, but I know what you're saying.
I'm just talking about in our world that we live. We just see too much of this kind of a person in the news.
Well, every time we have a shooting or somebody does something terrible,
we have something terrible.
Or somebody in the White House.
We have a study in Scarlet right here.
I know.
And we have a study right before our eyes of that very kind of person who is the preclusion to a very violent act.
And with this quick scene that, a piece of dialogue before I forget that really, for me, was very telling and poignant in a way, where he's talking with the social worker, and it's when he's finding out that the city is cutting funding, he's going to lose access to his drugs.
Right.
And she's talking to him, and he just says, "Listen," he goes, "You're not listening to me."
Right.
Because she's talking about, have you been focusing on your thoughts? And she's like, "You're not listening to me." He goes, "All I have are negative thoughts.
I know.
I've never had a positive thought in my life."
I know. Well, it's funny.
He's like, "I've never been happy in a moment in my life."
But it was
and it was tragic.
So sad.
It was.
So sad.
And so many people have never been happy.
And that's the essence of this film.
It is.
That's really the essence of this film. And that's why I like it as a technical piece of work. I like it as a Joaquin Phoenix acting performance. I like it as just a piece of visual entertainment. It's very watchable. You cannot take your eyes off of it, in fact. I didn't go to the bathroom, throughout this film. I made sure, but I knew that I wasn't going to. It's a solid 2-hour film. It's about 2 hours and 1 minute.
But I
does have the unfortunate.
Find myself being bored.
No, not
even for a second.
By no means.
I didn't feel the 2 hours.
But I can watch a documentary on Charles Manson and be equally as entertained.
And I have been.
Exactly. But there are elements there that are repulsive. They're repulsive, and yet we, because it's a media-driven format that you and I happen to embrace, movies.
Yes.
We sit there and we watch it, and we have to judge it as a piece of art. And as a piece of art, it totally
exceptional.
Wins us over.
It does.
It can't help it. It's beautifully made, but the presentation of the actual core of this horribly, horribly sad man. For me, it outweighs all the art, all the other stuff. It shoves that dagger right into my heart and goes, "Oh God, how can I sit and enjoy this?" So I'm a little torn.
A filmmaker that did his job. He got a hell of a response out of you.
Well,
and he did his job.
He if you want to put it like that, but it is a film. It is a piece of art, but it's also an emotional lifeline, and it's also emotional lifeline thrown away.
Yeah.
So it's a tough. I'm very torn by this film. Okay. I really am torn. I'm torn by a lot of it, but that says quite a bit about, as a piece of media.
Yeah, I agree.
It's quite powerful.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you at all.
There you go.
Well, let's move on. It's been quite a while.
It is getting
That
late.
was a good discussion.